Welcome to the NanoCap podcast. I'm your host, Will Chernlin, and I'm excited to have you join me on this journey through the world of NanoCap companies. For the past decade, I've talked to thousands of business owners across various industries. It's been an enlightening experience revealing the vast tapestries of entrepreneurship and innovation that thrives beneath the surface of mainstream media coverage. Each week, I will interview different leaders of NanoCap publicly traded companies to learn about their history, what they do now, and their future. As a reminder, none of this information is financial advice, and it is all for entertainment purposes only. Let's start this week's episode. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the NanoCap podcast. In this week's episode, I have the pleasure of speaking with Peter Evans, the CEO of Xtract One Technologies, stock ticker XTRAF. Xtract One Technologies is a pioneer in AI-powered weapon detection systems. Peter, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, thank you very much, Will. I much appreciate it.
So I see you started at Queen's University up kind of outside of Toronto. And then do you mind telling me just a bit more about kind of the steps along the way to you becoming the CEO of Xtract One Technologies?
Well, yeah, you're going back a little bit in history there, Will, all the way back to Queen's. But I started with a degree in applied math and another one in computer science. I quickly found myself in the telecom world. Working on various protocols associated with the movement to digitization of the telecom world. That took me out of Canada into the US. It was a very interesting and disruptive time where we saw markets deregulating and long distance companies getting into local getting into long distance, cable companies getting into business, and the whole analog telecom networks digitizing, which was the precursor to things like fiber optics, ADSL, to voice over IP. And so it was a really interesting time to learn at a great pace. And then somewhere in the middle of that, I realized we kept acquiring all these companies for billions of dollars, and all those founders were getting rich and famous. And I thought, I think I would like to do that. And so I went out to California to seek my same fame and fortune in Silicon Valley. I was with a very successful startup there. That led to my first CEO gig through some of the venture capital folks that I met, and ran a company up in Canada. And since then, it's been an interesting journey with both very large companies, some Fortune 50 companies like IBM through an acquisition, and Dell, and through a lot of very small startup companies. I love the small startup space. I've done this in cybersecurity for a long, long time. I've done it in telecom, obviously, and now a little bit more in the physical security world with a lot of the same AI and SaaS applications kind of brought into the mix here at what we do at Xtract One.
And so I hear telecom and I hear Canada. Were you right in the middle of things as like BlackBerry's starting to take off, or did you head out of town before that got going?
Yeah, I was not part of BlackBerry. I was actually with a company called Nortel Networks, which at one time was the darling of the telecom world. Over 50% of all the phone lines in North America were running on Nortel Networks gear. And Nortel was a fantastic innovator. They were the first end-to-end provider of wireless switching networks as the whole wireless mobile cell phone world was taking off. They were the innovators around OC192 fiber optics and many, many other applications. So it was a very interesting time. It was like a very large multi-billion-dollar startup that was doing cool, innovative things. And that's kind of gave me that taste for new innovations and fascinating changes. I actually come from a line of entrepreneurs. My father invented the side-by-side refrigerator as an example. And so I love that kind of whole entrepreneurial spirit, that whole creativity. And, as people get very, very clever about solving very interesting problems and interesting things.
So yeah, you say you love startups, you love interesting problems. What attracted you to the role at Xtract One when you got all this other stuff going on? What made you think, okay, this is where I want to spend the next 5-10 years of my life?
Well, two or three things. I was looking around for the next thing that I thought would be very interesting. And I know the kinds of things that motivate me very well and kind of what I like to do and what I don't like to do. And I actually had about 3 different offers about the same time that I had to consider. Xtract One, at the time we were called Patriot One, was very interesting because it was at its core this one unique piece of technology that could do weapons detection very, very well. And then wrapped around that was this really compelling, interesting AI software. And I'd worked with a lot of different AI companies before, and I thought what these guys have done is a little bit different. They started with a problem in mind and developed the AI engines first, as opposed to creating an AI engine and then looking to try and find a problem somewhere else. And so that to me was very, very interesting. And then what what I thought was the company had just lacked from execution. It was trying to do too many things. We had other products in the portfolio. We had other kind of applications in the portfolio. They were trying to serve too many markets with too many products in too many ways. And the path to success for every startup company, Jeffrey Moore wrote a great book about this called Crossing the Chasm. Get hyper focused on doing one thing extremely well. So when I kind of explored and did my due diligence on Xtract One, I saw like there is a great technology here that's just been kind of mismanaged in the way it was brought to market. And with very, very good execution, we can do extremely well. And so I thought, this is just an execution game. Get on board, get a plan, and go execute.
So let's go back a little bit so we can get back up to speed today. As you mentioned, the name used to be Patriot One Detection.
Yes.
And then almost like a decade or so before that, I saw that the company just started basically as just like academic research.
Yeah.
And then eventually turned into things. So can you tell me just a bit more just about the history of the company and then how it turned into what Xtract One Technologies is today and what you offer today?
Absolutely. So the company was founded, well, not quite founded. It was spun out of McMaster University in Canada. There's some technology being worked on by individuals there doing research, and somebody said, this could be very interesting. It could be commercialized. And so that was about 2016 or so. And the company kind of formally incorporated in 2018, raised some money by going public on the venture exchange in Canada. And that original innovation was around this idea of weapons detection without necessarily having to have people divest of all the metal in their pocket. So we're all used to going through metal detectors. You go to a baseball game, for example, you have to take out your cell phone, your watch, your keys, all these kinds of things, because the metal will alert where metal is being used as the proxy for a weapon. In our case, we developed a solution, or at least that core technology, that would be able to discern these are benign objects, cell phone, watch, wallet, keys, and this is a knife or a gun. And so that was back in sort of 2018, the company was incorporated, and they kind of worked on the product for a few years. And then COVID came, which I think really impacted the company's ability to get out in front of customers and test and validate this works. It's hard to go to a baseball stadium or a hockey arena and say, try our new technology to replace your walk-through metal detectors when everything's shut down and everybody's wearing masks and staying home. So I joined the company right at the end of COVID. And, again, because the company was struggling for direction and execution, and I saw a great opportunity. And as the world came out of COVID, so did we. Coming back to the name question, we were Patriot One. My predecessor had named the company Patriot One. We had acquired a company called Xtract AI. And that was kind of the secret sauce, I think, that makes what we do very different. This was an organization based out of Vancouver, Canada, that was building bespoke AI software for the Department of National Defense. The kind of AI that goes on cameras that are on the belly of an F-16 airplane, that as it's flying over enemy territory can identify, those are tanks, those are Scuds, that's X, that's Y, that's Z. And so very, very high quality AI, and it has to be in order to meet those standards for the D&D. And so here we had Xtract AI, the acquired company, Patriot One. They felt like when I came on board, two different companies doing two different things, and yet that AI was the heart of what made us better at Patriot One. So it made sense to merge the companies so they didn't see themselves as two separate companies into one company with one mission, one vision, one value proposition. Patriot One, Xtract AI, merge them together, Xtract One.
So I can totally understand the application from the, like you said, like a baseball stadium.
Yeah.
But could you tell me a bit more about working in places like an Amazon fulfillment center and working on kind of more the unique cases that maybe a customer wouldn't think about right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, so there's the obvious places where people think of where nobody wants to have weapons. Schools, for example. Nobody likes to hear about a shooting that occurred in a school, and more schools are becoming more and more focused on how do we protect our children and create a safe, embracing environment for them. Hospitals. Most people may not know that the healthcare industry is the highest place of workforce violence. And I was at one healthcare organization, which is a terrible thing. You've got people who are caregivers, who are oftentimes volunteers, people who have given themselves up to a life of service, whether it's nursing or as a doctor or a physician. And yet they're the people who are most under attack. And it's where you're seeing the most people leave the industry because of their concern about the threat to life. Manufacturing and distribution, the demographics of those organizations tend to be individuals who work in a manufacturing line for making cars, for example, or a distribution center like an Amazon that you mentioned, tend to be more blue collar workers. And the demographics are that they carry weapons. Fascinating to me that we talked to one organization that had 14 very large distribution centers, and they said, we've got a fist fight once per week in each one of those distribution centers. And they're terrified that during one of those fist fights, somebody pulls out a knife or a gun. And so they have to be very conscious about protecting these environments, whether it's a school, whether it's a hospital, whether it is a manufacturing or distribution, or stadiums, arenas that we're used to being screened at. And so, again, the unique opportunity that we provide them is, I'll give an example from one of our customers, a very, very large automotive customer, in fact, the largest automotive manufacturing plant in the United States. They make $1 million of cars every minute. It's an astronomical number. And when they were screening using traditional methods, it used to take them 21 seconds per staff member, per shift worker, 10,000 shift workers 3 times a day to get into the facility. 21 seconds. Scan them, screen them, do their badge access control. Now it's taking them 2.5 seconds. So you've got that whole shift into the plant that much faster. They're producing that many cars, so much so that they have now required all of their supply chain to start using our technology because the supply chain can't keep up with the pace of how they're consuming transmissions and everything else that they use in the factory. So, there's a great case study. Another great case study, one of my favorites, is Radio City Music Hall in New York City. They run a Christmas show every year. Because the building is very old, they could only squeeze so many walk-through metal detectors into the entrance. And so no matter what time you arrive, they could only get 70% of the people into their seats before the curtain raised. So that created a lot of dissatisfaction. A lot of people wanted refunds for their tickets. They come in for the weekend for the Christmas show. We at the time, only protected 2 of the 3 entrances. And as a result, in this past year during the Christmas shows, 92% of the people were in their seats before the curtain raised. Satisfaction levels went up through the roof. Everyone was incredibly happy. No more refunds. And more importantly, because everyone was in the building so fast, instead of having to stand in line and divest of all their gear, they were buying more food, more beverages, more T-shirts, more, paraphernalia. And so the revenues went through the roof also. So it's a fantastic value proposition, because we're using AI technology to get people in fast, not having the invasiveness of having to remove all their personal items, not having to stand out in the cold in December in New York. Everybody wins.
No, I can't believe the different almost cost savings and revenue generating opportunities when I started looking into it. Because I remember anecdotally talking to a friend who worked at an Amazon fulfillment center, and that it takes during COVID peak, it took about an hour to leave work every day because not only did everyone have to go through the metal detectors and empty their pockets, but everyone had to be 6 feet apart in line. Yes. And so it turned into this whole thing, and then they took away the metal detectors, and stealing went up, and theft, and blah blah blah. So no, this sounds like a pretty amazing thing. So you're way ahead of the curve buying an AI company in 2019. How has things changed as you've basically become the president?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that I still think, it's funny. You mentioned BlackBerry, for example. I think that this industry is still in its nascency. I think we're still in the early days. If the old walk-through metal detector was the flip phone, there's been some iterations of products out there that are more like the BlackBerry. Everyone had one. It was very expensive, but it didn't innovate. I kind of think of us a little bit more like the iPhone. And we're probably still at an iPhone 2 or 3 or 4 in terms of the innovation cycle, but there's so much more possibilities of what we could do. So example, you just talked about your friends at Amazon. Okay. And all of a sudden and I think I heard you say, they get screened through the metal detectors on the way out the door.
Yep.
And then they took the metal detectors out, and now theft has gone up. Of course. So imagine if the innovation and the AI models keep getting smarter and they can be trained more and more and more. So on the way in the door, I can go, this is a gun, this is a knife. But on the way out the door, I can go, those are stolen earbuds. That is a stolen smartphone. That's a stolen iWatch, right? And being able to specifically discern that information and that difference. And all of a sudden, I've got a whole new use case for Amazon that's more than just weapons detection, that has a lot more value. So as we talk to more and more vertical markets, there's vertical market specific ideas that are very interesting. And we're very pleased that the way we've developed our AI engines, and particularly the sensors, is we can adjust. And so when a particular organization is looking for something unique, we can become that vertical market leader by providing that through our AI engines. People are looking for, you know, facial recognition integrated into the exact same platform, so that not only can I say, does this person have a weapon or not, I can identify, this is Will. Will hasn't been banned from the patron from the building before. And we're doing that with Madison Square Garden right now, right? Will has got a valid ticket. Will isn't a VIP. Sorry, Will. And you don't have a weapon on you. And so we can discern all of these things. So it becomes more than just a single application. You're now thinking about the guest experience as well as guest security from an end-to-end multi-layered approach. Imagine you walking past our system. We're going, this is Will. He's been here 10 times before. Let's treat him differently and take him up to the VIP suites.
No, and I was thinking back to the asset protection point of view of, this is Will. He entered the Amazon warehouse or whatever warehouse with his phones and his AirPods in his pocket. Why'd he leave with 2 phones and AirPods in his pocket?
Yes, exactly.
And at least ask a question. So someone gave me their phone, whatever.
Yeah, at least, yeah. And so getting extra layers, and that's kind of the interesting promise of not only digital technology, but also the AI systems that we've put in place. You're able to gather lots more data and information such that you can answer more complex questions. So you can provide more robust services to your customers.
No, 100%. And then with that, just to echo with Amazon, they got the checkout lanes where they use the cameras, and it's all one swing. They scan you when you come into the security. They know who you are. You can order your beer off your face, everything. It seems like one slick system for sure.
Yep.
So, I was out in Las Vegas last week at the Sphere, experiencing your product.
Fantastic.
And very slick experience. Everyone almost wanted to take things out of their pocket, and they'd keep being told, just keep moving. So,
Yep.
No, it was an amazing experience, especially with the Sphere and how high tech everything is there. It kind of perfectly matches the theme of almost like an old school Epcot, where this is the world of tomorrow.
Yes.
And then your product is perfectly placed in there. It's a nice touch for sure. And so that kind of leads me to my next question of, where did the Madison Square Garden group kind of come into the picture? And did they come to you all and say, hey, we need to get our people in faster? Did you come to them saying, hey, you need to get people in faster? Or was it kind of mutual? Or where did that come from?
Well, it all actually started, and this is one of those things where you're glad you answered the message. I got pinged by someone on LinkedIn with a message saying, hey, I'd like to talk to you about stuff. And the genesis of this was, the Sphere obviously is probably the most advanced entertainment venue arena in the planet. And I can't remember if it was Jim Dolan or someone else who made the comment. He said, I'm not putting $2 billion into building the most advanced entertainment venue on the planet, only to have people stand up in the hot Las Vegas sun for 90 minutes waiting to go through 60-year-old metal detecting technologies. And so there was this vision for what the fan experience could look like, what the fan experience should be, and how technology was fundamentally changing that in the Sphere. And so that wanted to be every aspect of the venue. And Madison Square Garden has this approach. The first person that someone touches when they come to a venue is a security guard. So they don't call them security guards, they call them brand ambassadors. And they want that first brand touch, that first moment of truth, to be a very, very positive one. So they started doing the investigation, looking around. They looked at us, they looked at other technologies, and because it's MSG, they did rigorous testing. I think we were in their venues between the Beacon, Radio City, and MSG itself about 24 different times for 24 different rounds of testing. At all sorts of events like the Tony Awards and UFC and Knicks games and Rangers games and Tribeca Film Festivals and you name it. They're very, very rigorous. They have to be. If you Google the words, the most iconic venue on the planet, Madison Square Garden pops up. And so that means that they are a target for all kinds of threats and all sorts of risks on a continuous basis. So they put a lot of rigor into looking through all the technologies, not only for who did weapons detection the best, but also who had a platform that had the extensibility and the ability to do more in the future as they thought about it, like I said, with the facial recognition application. Okay. So we tested. They became very pleased with the solution. We worked on a contract to deploy that solution for all of their venues, which were now fully deployed and have been for over a year. And then they came to us and said, we think we'd like to invest in you. We think you're the winner in this game. And we want to be a part of that. We want to have an opportunity to work with you to continue to make the product better and make your company better. And so that led to also to not only being a great customer and a great advocate for us, but also they become an investor in the company.
Oh, that's a amazing win-win story in business. That's kind of how you draw it up and hope it happens. So it's awesome that you kind of came to a mutual agreement that everyone could win working with each other.
Yeah, I like it. I like it so much. I'm gonna add one more thought there, Will. Sorry to cut you off. I saw a great report that came out the other day that's stack ranked all the venues on the all the arenas on the planet by those ones that make the highest gross profit. And 3 of the top 5 are using our gear right now. So it was really interesting. And our intent is to be the 100% of that list.
Well, and as a admitted Sphere shareholder, not investment advice, but there's no reason for there should be 20 Spheres around the world. Singapore needs one. Dubai needs one. They all need one.
Well, the very interesting thing, what really surprised me, and I thought that's very clever, is the way the Sphere has been developed and designed and architected. That was exactly the vision. That if all of a sudden, I don't know, Des Moines, Iowa said, we would like a Sphere, someone will do the demographic studies and say, oh, you need one that's 6,000 people. And you can replicate the model of what they've built and just scale it up and down to go do the 6,000 person model. Now, all of a sudden, you're going to go into Dubai and somebody says, well, based on the demographics, it should be 20,000 people. We'll just scale it up and scale it down and repeat the model. So it was very intelligent how they designed it in order to be able to serve more markets around the world. And that ultimately is the business plan.
No, I envision a Taylor Swift tour where it's Sphere only. And she can spend all the money in the world to get the best visual effects and everything. And all of a sudden, if you're an A-list celebrity, you're like, why would I go to some hockey arena and with terrible acoustics? Like, no, I'll go to the place that already has my stage set up and I just plug in a thumb drive and I'm ready to go. Well,
exactly. And to your point, you plug in that thumb drive and you've got that visual experience. I'm not sure if they had it when you were there for whatever concert you were at. Yep. I saw a couple of YouTube concerts there and the visual experience was outstanding. And it was tailored just for YouTube, just for the Sphere. They could never use it anywhere else on the planet. And you start to think about exactly that. I go to 20 Spheres on YouTube and I take my same audio visuals around the world. That's a really differentiated offer.
So, sorry for taking on that tangent. I only got a couple of questions left.
No worries.
Okay, so your April earnings reports.
Yes.
Sales are up, / revenue is up 435% year over year.
Yes.
Did a bunch of like beta and trial programs all say yes at once, or what's going so well?
It's a handful of things. If we kind of dial the clock back, coming out of COVID, we had a core technology that worked well, but it was not productized in a way that was very consumable. I'm a big believer in being customer back and creating products that are very easy to deploy by customers versus product forward. Love our engineers, but sometimes engineers in all the tech companies I've worked with, they start to think about, well, we'll just do it this way. And the customer looks and goes, that'll never work. And so we fixed a lot of those problems and came out with a smart gateway in 2021. And since then, things have been just growing and growing and growing. So you had a couple of things going on that were contributing to those revenues. First off, more and more of the SaaS revenues, the recurring revenues from subscriptions, were starting to kick in and stack on top of each other. The second thing is we had a backlog of customers who had ordered technology, and we were working with them on the design of the buildings. Good example, Co-op Live Arena. We started working with Co-op Live a year ago, laying out where the systems would sit on the floor plan, where the conduits would be. And then a year later, when it was actually finished and completed, we shipped in the systems, we installed them. So we converted bookings backlogs to revenues. Okay. And then the third thing is the business just keeps growing on a quarterly basis. I've never seen demand like this before, and just more and more contract signing and more people saying, ship me gear as quick as you can. So combination of things happening there. And, I don't see it slowing down where the business just keeps on growing faster and faster.
Quick side question, but do these venues get like a cut on a price cut on their insurance if they use your product?
It's a very interesting idea, and I think they all should. I don't own an insurance company, so I don't control those policies. And in a past life, I had a very similar conversation with a number of insurance companies. And while there are those folks who understand the concept, the insurance companies move really, really slowly. And it's hard to kind of get people to kind of write those policies. They're going to go through, they have to build their actuarial tables. They have to go through all the risk management, risk assessment. They want years and years of data that they can dig into. And that's a long sales process. And in the interim, most of the arenas are saying, I'm getting people in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times faster. They're all buying more beer and pretzels. I'm lowering the number of security staff I need to run the venue. I'm not waiting for the insurance companies. The value proposition is strong.
No, it makes sense. So I envision, as I think of just like Moore's Law and such, I envision a future where like your product is not even like a standalone product. It's just built into the door frame.
Yep.
And it's kind of just like a very seamless thing. But kind of for my last question, in an ideal world, what is your company up to in 2034?
2034. Wow, that's a long way away. I hope to be lying on a beach somewhere with Richard Branson, but that's a whole different story. Ask him to pass me a pina colada. I think there's a couple of things. One, your idea of, this is just built into the door frame. Originally, our company had that vision, but the art of physics and how far you could bend the law of physics wasn't quite mature enough. Well, do I think that changes? Do I think that we see more and more AI models allowing us to get there? Sure. I think, unfortunately, the way the world works today, with everything that's happening with weapons, not just here in North America, but now globally, we are going to see weapons detection technology become a standard in every building. In the same way that every building has badge access control and has Wi-Fi built in it, has fire retardant systems, has sprinkler systems, has most buildings now have, defibrillators on every floor in case someone has a situation. I think you're going to see it become a standard almost every building around the world. And so as that becomes more the standard, you'll see continuous innovation in the technology itself to fit the form factors and make it very easy to deploy in the same way an access point is easy to deploy. I think you're going to find continuous efficacy. Right now, the solutions, all of them, everything that's on the marketplace will alert if you're in an environment where you've got too much metal. So I'm walking through the backpack with 2 laptops and chargers and things like that. You're going to alert. It's just what the laws of physics will allow us to do right now. But as we keep pushing on the laws of physics, I can envision a future in like 2034, 10 years from now, where I'm driving through in a car, for example, and if that car has a weapon in it or not. The metal is irrelevant. And it's all done at fast-paced walking speed. I can see a world where we've got more and more integration of more and more sensing technologies. So not only am I looking at the physical attributes and the biometric attributes saying, this is Will, he's got a valid ticket, he doesn't have a weapon. Can we start to look for other things? Chemicals, for example, liquids. These are very, very complex problems to solve. So you start to think of the whole Minority Report kind of world where, you're actually predicting things long before they happen. For now, we're very focused on solving one core problem and doing it very, very well. We're very pleased that we can detect, as many weapons, in side-by-side tests than any other solution that's out there, or more weapons than any other solution out there, while also providing very low false positive rates, while also providing very high ingress. For most technologies that are out there, it's an either or. I can get you all the weapons, or I can get you in fast, but I can't do both. We're very pleased that we've cracked the code on being able to do both.
That's awesome. So, the very, very last question is, if people would like to learn more about Xtract One Technologies or you or any of your product offerings, where can I send them, and what should I have some links to in the description?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, we love to hear from people. We get lots and lots of inbounds all day long from people who are saying, I've got a problem to solve. Can you help me? Of course, our website, www.xtract1.com, is a great place to start. And there's all sorts of information there. There's posted videos, there's posted case studies, and there's also a contact me form. And that is monitored all day long, every day. You can also find us on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn too. And so there's all sorts of ways to follow us. Follow us on social media. Follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, follow us on Instagram, or just come to our website, www.xtract, one.com.
Easy enough. Thanks again, Peter. And for those still listening, please remember to subscribe and review. Thanks.
Thank you, Will.
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not provide financial, legal, or any other advice. The information is not investment advice or any offer to buy or sell any securities or to make any investment. The views expressed by the guests are their own, and any reference to third-party products, services, or information does not constitute an endorsement therefore by NanoCap Podcast or its affiliates. The NanoCap Podcast express disclaims all liability for any individual